Where is my mana? That was a very bad time to not have mana. You gotta be kidding me, man. Out of mana and I can't Immortal Call.
Wait!
Ambivalence, death,
Oh my word. Did I get stunned?
in darkness.
Not 3-0 today, buddy!
Hello and welcome, Exiles, to look at the build that got me my first Gauntlet Uber kills, and that is a Hierophant using Scorching Ray of Immolation with totems. Now, there is going to be, I will include a clip of me doing Uber Shaper, or not a clip, the whole fight at the end of this video, so if you want to see gameplay, you can skip to that. But I'm going to go over basically the idea behind the character and why I chose this skill. First off, Scorching Ray of Immolation is an extremely strong damage dot skill because of the very unique thing that is you can get multiple instances of it. Normally, like if you have a dot skill, like let's say you had Vortex Gem, Vortex Gem, Vortex Gem, you put down 3 different vortexes, you would only deal the damage of one vortex. The thing that's unique about Scorching Ray of Immolation is each totem can have its own individual debuff of Scorching Ray of Immolation, and if I keep spam placing them, I will keep stacking up this debuff, which is why this can actually deal some fairly solid damage as a dot skill with mostly defensive investment on the character. So that's why we chose the skill. That's why we're doing totems with it, is for those multiple instances. It also opens up the vector of scaling of duration. Normally on dot skills, duration is just some quality of life, but duration on this means we can get more debuffs applied over the time that it lasts. Because if the first debuff lasts 7 seconds, then every single additional debuff I put on during those 7 seconds is an additional ramp to my damage. Now, aside from the skill choice, defensively, we went with old reliable block plus ES. It's hard to beat recover on block shields. I have to give some props to GGG for them nerfing Int. Int was way too strong in this league. Them dialing back Int's power helped kind of even the scales with life versus ES. In fact, a life build 1, Ben played, well, they both played Flamewood Totems. But aside from playing Flamewood Totems, life builds with the Delirium Ascendancy gives a huge amount of DR, very strong tank. So props to them. I feel like ES and life are a lot more of a closer choice, especially in a SSF environment when you can't really get the crazy gear that multiplies ES to such extreme extents. Now, speaking on the character, defensively, we got our block, for example, through a lot of large clusters. I think this is honestly one of the strongest things you can do with large clusters today in the current game is get block from them. The shield clusters with Prodigious and Riot Queller are insane for block, as well as the spell clusters with Conjured Wall and Mage Hunter are insane for spell block. If you can afford it, getting a combination of Prodigious with like Mage Hunter or some of these other combinations is very strong as well. But this is how we capped our block, was basically having Mage Hunter on the travel node on all of our spell clusters. And then I got lucky with one cluster where I got Conjured Wall as well, which means whenever I cast a spell, my block goes up. Now I am capped spell block without Conjured Wall currently, just because I wanted to play a little bit safe, and I went for this wheel here to add a bit more block to cap me without Conjured Wall. I was just trying to be a little bit more reliable because I am spamming totems. That doesn't count as casting a spell. I probably would still have 100% uptime on Conjured Wall just because I'm flame dashing all the time. I'm casting my curse. I'm Immortal Calling. But that was the reason I capped it a little bit more, just in case I would forget to cast a spell for 4 seconds. Pretty rarely I would do that. Any normal caster build, this would be 100% uptime. But because I was playing totems, I decided to still cap it anyways for Ubers. Speaking of which, attack block also very extremely strong defensive layer, but for Ubers, I gave up some of my attack block. I actually only have 42 attack block from my shield right now. Normally, I'd recommend capping this, but for Ubers, attack block is a lot less important and spell block is way more important. For example, Shaper, all the things that are dangerous to you that you can block are spells. The ball phase, the Shaper balls he shoots, all that, those are spells. The Shaper Slam is an attack, but it has a non-blockable mod on it, so you couldn't block it anyways. So there's a lot of these fights, Uber Cortex, Uber Cirrus, Uber Maven, Uber Elder. You look at all of them and you go down the list of abilities that can hit you that you can block, and pretty much all of them are spells, and the ones that are attacks have cannot be blocked on them, except for like Uber Eater's Tentacle Whip. Those I think can be blocked technically, and that'd be a place where you'd want the block. But for the most part, you want to over leverage for block. And I was trying to take down these Ubers that had a lot of spells, so I let go of a lot of my attack block I had through Replica Reckless Defense. I let go of my block mastery here, and I fully leaned into spell block. I also was trying to get stun avoid, and I got that through 1 mastery here, stun avoid on gloves, and then I had 2 abyssal jewels on my tree here and here, which gave me stun avoid to get myself 100% avoid chance. One of the biggest things when it comes to not dying in an Uber fight is you don't want to get randomly locked down. Let's say you take a random hit from a Shaper Ball, and if it stuns you on the first Shaper Ball, guess what? You're going to get hit by the next 3 Shaper Balls that are behind it, and your character is dead. Case in point, my rip where I died, it wasn't technically a stun, but it was a, let's just say, a misuse of the shield charge skill where I didn't move at all and I just got hit a bunch and I died. You don't want to get locked down, and that's why you want stun avoid. So we're going block, we're going high ES, and then we're going recover on block to help us sustain that. Additional defensive layers we are also using are, we have 5 minimum endurance charges, 4 from the Ascendancy, and then 1 from a ring suffix, and then 1 max charge over here. DR, very, very strong. For physical damage, we're obviously taking Phys Taken As on our implicits because we are a CI build, so that physical goes to Chaos, and then we just don't take the Chaos damage. So that helps a lot. And then other defensive layers, if we could have added it, would have been really nice to get Anathema with Enfeeble. We also have Frost Shield with... And whenever I spend mana inside of this Sigil of Power, this makes enemies deal 14% less damage if they're inside the circle. And then Frost Shield's like another 4k buffer in it as well, something you could add for tank. And then the emergency button, Immortal Call, if you're ever about to take a big fizz hit. Like, for example, if you watch the Shaper clip, you'll notice I'm trying to Immortal Call every single time I see Shaper do his slam. Because that slam, if I don't Immortal Call, will die. If I do Immortal Call, it will barely, like, hurt my ES. And the reason for that is I actually believe... is a slight bug. Okay, so Immortal Call is supposed to give you 32% less physical damage. That's not a bug. That's just how the guard skill works. Very strong. With just that DR, I probably tank the Shaper Slam pretty reasonably. It's still going to hurt me pretty hard, but I'm going to tank it reasonably. One thing that I believe is a bug that I was made aware of this league is the line that says 15% less fizz damage taken per endurance charge removed. That apparently works with minimum endurance charges. As far as I know, it shouldn't. I think that's just a bug. So anyways, this thing would effectively give me like 90 Fizz DR whenever it's procced. And its duration is fairly long. It's 3 seconds because I have, duration investment, which means if he does that slam and I proc the Immortal Call, the slam will not kill me. It'll just give me a ruin, and that's why I'm proccing it throughout the fight. Very strong. Or whenever you take a bunch of like elemental damage and you're just trying to get like some safety, some recovery, proccing this also gives 32 less elemental damage taken. So that's kind of the defensive aspects of the build. And then if we could have added it, I started talking about it, Anathema, +1 ring slot. I would have given up my Arcane Surge Ascendancy for +1 ring slot because Anathema with the 1 power charge here, 16% damage, +1 curse, that would give us 5 curses. I could go Enfeeble and I could go a punishment in my helmet, which would give me damage reduction from Enfeeble, make the enemy take increased damage from punishment, and then we have another curse we could add in, Tempt Chains. I could go a quad curse with Tempt Chains, Flammability, and Elemental Weakness. That would make the boss slower, it would make him deal less damage with Enfeeble, and it would also be a damage upgrade from the Arcane Surge Ascendancy. I did not find an Anathema. I did a lot of Hive Blood with a ring-focused unique tree. It is what it is. It would have been an extreme upgrade for this character, but we didn't quite get it. It would also give me back these 4 passive points here. I would be putting 2 into these 2 points, but 16% damage and then 2 other points that can go out of the useful stuff helps as well. Another thing you'll notice is I'm wearing the Impenetrable belt. Now, this is one of the first things I would ultimately not really recommend. This is more of just there's not a lot of time in the Gauntlet. What's the best thing I can get in a short amount of time? And Impenetrable belt was one of the best things I could get in a short amount of time. I have a bit of a trauma built up from Blight, and also I just didn't really want to run Blight. Blight would have given you the Anoint belt as an option, as well as Prismatic Oil, which would open up the ability to anoint the damage per ES notable out here with a Prismatic Oil. I just didn't really have the time to farm it. But ultimately, if you wanted to make this a bit stronger, obviously things like Mage Blood, or, you know, if you had a dual Shrine Belt, or just having a good Anointed Belt plus like a Balbala triple flash setup, all that would help defensively. I just didn't really feel like I had the time to farm it. The big downside of this belt is you have no Quicksilver, so you're a lot slower. You have no Quartz Flask, so you can't walk through enemies. It makes mapping a lot more painful. It's fine for boss fights, but there is that downside there where I was not necessarily a fan of it while mapping, but it was just the best thing I could do given the time frame to try to pump my ES numbers. Like, obviously, okay, well, right now, if I take this off, it bricks my int, so don't look at that, but you get the idea. That's why we're doing that. As for other things I would potentially change is I would maybe swap the flat ES or the percent ES for +1 totem. You could really easily make a very good block shield with a +1 totem on it. If I just got a Shaper Exalt, I ran like 14 Shapers, like 5 Uber Elders. I didn't drop a Shaper Exalt. It is what it is. RNG is RNG. But the way this would work is you'd recom just an energy shield with a block chance roll. You'd have a 2-mod shield. You'd block prefix. You'd slam 2 suffixes. Then you'd block suffix. You'd Shaper Exalt. The only Shaper Exalt it can hit is +1 totem. So you'd have block ES +1 totem, which is a nice damage upgrade because you get damage from this ascendancy here, 5% more, and you get more regen. And the way this skill works, where you apply 2 totems, apply a beam. If I have 6 totems, when I do this final cast here, this totem will still be there, which means it's easier for me to cycle these, where each time they spawn, they'll get the beam out. Because if I'm spam casting these, I have enough placement speed where I could place them before they get their initial beam out, which you just want to make sure they're at least getting that initial beam out. And it would take it from a delay of 3 casts to remove the first totem to 4 casts to remove the first totems, and it would more consistently guaranteed we're placing those Scorching Ray beams on top of the extra damage and regen it would give. It would have been a very nice upgrade. I never managed to get it, but that's one of the things we were looking for. Other things are we could go for like a 3-stat recommed wand that we could multi-mod, you know, like +2 with dot multi, or like, you know, a really high % damage, and then I could craft like % damage over time. It would give us another 70% increased damage, something like that. Just a matter of time. But that was the kind of the concept of the character. Scale a bunch of ES, get recover on block, have endurance charges, have mortal call. That was our defensive layers. And then pair that with the Scorching Ray of Immolation totems. That's the Hierophant we went for Gauntlet. All in all, I'm really happy with how this build performed. We started out with Guardian, incredible start. And we swapped over to this when we wanted to start looking towards doing the harder content and bosses. I'm very happy with my Gauntlet performance. Getting 2 Ubers is 2 more than I've ever done before. And hopefully I can improve this next time. I'm praying Ziz decides to let us have 10 days again, 2 weekends. As somebody who can't really afford to, I mean, I still ended up averaging like 10 hours a day or whatever with my game time. But I can't really afford to do no sleep schedules like a lot of the other top racers and competitors. So I'm hoping they give us 10 days because I don't know. I personally like the idea of having more time to properly gear a character before going into Ubers, as well as I'm imagining a lot of people that play more casually like having 2 weekends rather than just 1. So here's hoping Ziz decides to give us a bit more time on the next Gauntlet. All in all, a lot of fun. This was the Hyro Scorching Ray of Immolation. Hopefully you guys like it. I'll think about maybe making a softcore variant for next league start. Because I think it's a really like strong start to do something like a Guardian Absolution into a build like this. Could be a situation where you could go to Ubers really early on, along with having just strong scaling where you don't need that much gear to start being able to knock down some content. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. And now take a look at the Uber Shaper kill. Thanks for watching, Exiles, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, guys. Holy freaking get stuck on something. Hopefully it doesn't matter where that Degen ground is. One ruin.
Gaze to the abyss. Inconsequential.
First phase down.
He's recovering. We need to find a way back quickly.
Feel his power. Behold the face of your unmaking.
Father, it's me. Let me help you.
The horror must be stopped. Obstacles destroyed. Feel his power. Feel his power.
Thank you, block. Thank you, block. Thank you, block. Thank you, block.
My mana is spent. Feel his power. Ultimate chaos. Braced by misery.
Holy crap. That's so terrifying. Two ruin.
Ultimate chaos. Embraced by misery. Embraced by misery. Gaze to the abyss. Embraced by misery. Gaze to the feel his power. Insubstantial.
Last phase, boys. Last phase.
He's trying to recover. Hurry! Let's find a way back.
These memories are mine. I cannot lose them.
They lie to you, Father. I'm your true memory.
To save the future, the past must be sacrificed.
Spent.
Ultimate chaos.
Fall before me. Feel its power.
Yikes, yikes, yikes. It's a good thing we got. It's a good thing we divine those ES pieces. Am I right, guys? It's a good thing we divine some of those. Chest Divine putting in work. Chest Divine's putting in some work.
Feel its power.
Embrace my destiny.
Fall before me.
I must have time to gather.
Fall before me.
I logged. Well, it didn't log when I pressed the button. Okay. I lose 2 points somewhere. I get the Arcane Surge back. If I lose this point, I can get these points. I need to lose 2 points somewhere. And I can swap Cull for the Arcane Surge. But what 2 points do we swap, boys? What 2 points? What 2 points? Stun Threshold? Why do I even still have that? Holy, that was a dead point. I think it's gotta be this totem point. Can you take 2 minutes to breathe and give me a toilet break? It's 5:30, Ziz! There's no time! You made it a 7-day event, you bastard! I don't have time! Three days played, by the way.
Hail God.
Feel his power!
Ultimate chaos. Embraced by this.
Not 3 in today, buddy! Revenge feels never felt sweeter. Oh, yeah. You can suck it, Shaper! I'm better! I still don't have a Shaper Exalt, by the way. You guys see a Shaper Exalt? I don't see one. You guys see one? I don't see one.